Russia's economy. Let's get moving. Okay, so what we'll focus on first is, and when we say Russia's economy, we will not focus on the economy throughout Russia or throughout Russia's history. We'll focus primarily on the last, let's say, 100 years, maybe, basically focusing on the the Soviet Union's economy, then talking about that, then transitioning a little bit into Russia's economy today. So with that being said, let's move to the first concept I would like to discuss, which is the Soviet Union's command economy. So a little background information around the turn of the Soviet Union. Of course, their economy was a command economy. The government was a communist government. And just a quick recap on what a command economy was. It's a central authority that makes key economic decisions. So what that basically means is the government decides everything dealing with the economy. Who goes into business, what kind of business that you should go into, how will you produce things, how will you get those things to the public, how much you produce. It is the exact opposite of the way things work here in the United States. In the United States, the government does not tell anyone to start a business. If you want to start a gym, if you want to purchase an Anytime Fitness franchise to start your own gym, if you have the money, you can start it here in the United States. It does not work like that in a command economy. In a command economy, there's 100% up to the government. If the government decides that there's a need for gyms in a place, then the government will own the gym, and they would choose someone to run the gym. But the individual person never owns the gym or owns the profit or takes any risks from the gym. It's all government-centered. And, of course, this picture, the first picture in red, this is just a symbol of the Soviet Union. This is just what the symbol of the Soviet Union was at that time. Another thing going with the Soviet Union's command economy is that it emphasized heavy industry rather than the production of consumer goods. And consumer goods are things that we need for our everyday life. And so these two pictures illustrate that point. What I wanted to get across to you guys wanted just to convey that to you, that during this time, the Soviet Union the government focused all of their energies on heavy industry. And if you recall from one of our previous videos, heavy industry is just building things that are very capital intensive, that are very labor intensive, like this video. Like this picture. Heavy machinery, okay? Heavy machinery, mining, things like that. Things that kind of lay the foundation for everything that we do. Like we need things that build an infrastructure, so we need heavy machinery and help us to help us build things, right? We need steel and we need oil and we need all these things to build roads and to go inside of our houses. So the things that the infrastructure, the things that provide our infrastructure are all normally what you'll see being created in heavy industry. So the Soviet Union, they focused on that. They did not focus on creating consumer goods. And consumer goods are things that we see and use in our everyday life. So if you guys if you like me, you're at home, take a look around your house real quick, or if you're in class, take a look write down at your phone. Consumer goods are things like your phone. If you're listening to this on your cell phone, consumer goods are things like your phone, detergent, clothes, all those things that we take, all those small things that go inside of a house. Okay. So and these are some of the results of the Soviet Union's command economy. The first, low unemployment. So that means everyone had a job. Also, though, even though everyone had a job, no one made a lot of money. And this is just a feature of what you will see traditionally in the command economy, that 99.9% of the people are poor. Normally, the wealthy people are the people who are in the political party. But unlike the political parties that we can think of where anyone can join, in a command economy, there's normally only one political party. And so they're very selective, and not everyone can be a member of the party. Most people cannot afford consumer goods in the Soviet Union's command economy, and there were a lack of available consumer goods. So even if they were available, you could not afford it. And what this graphic is, this just illustrates again just highlights again, reviews that concept again of what consumer goods are. Just things that you think about: barbecue sauce, toilet paper, cereal, coffee, tea, bread, those things that we have in our house, furniture, video games, televisions, those things are considered to be consumer goods. Because of that, because the economy, there were a lack of consumer goods being produced by the Soviet economy or by Soviet factories at that time, a black market developed. And a black market is an illegal trade in which scarce or illegal goods are sold at prices even higher than those set by the government. What that basically means is this: because the government of the Soviet Union, the command economy, did not produce a lot of consumer goods for the people, criminals were able to step in and provide those goods to people, from bringing in goods from Western Europe, bringing in goods from the United States of America, smuggling them into the country and selling it to people without the government's knowledge or without the government's permission. So the government knew, but it's a lot like the illegal drug trade here in the United States right now. We have a black market for the drug trade. It's something that is not provided by the government. It's illegal, but people still do it, and it's very, very, very profitable. This brings us going forward. The next concept I'd like to discuss with you guys is the eventual transition of the Soviet Union from a command economy to the market economy. And this started occurring in 1985 when this guy, Mikhail Gorbachev, he was the Russian premier at that time, which means he was basically the president of the Soviet Union. He came to power, and the economy of the Soviet Union at that time was in crisis. It was starting to collapse under its own weight, which normally occurs in a command economy for any number of reasons, but primarily because it is not efficient, right? One of the benefits of a market economy, or more specifically a mixed economy, which is what we have, is that it works very efficiently. People do the things they love. You start the kind of businesses you want. If it's successful, awesome. If it's not, that's cool too. But people work hard to make their life's work a success. So that's why you see a lot of the major inventions of the past 100 years have occurred here. You think about Apple, or let's say the major companies, Ford, Bell South, or the telephone companies, the Bell companies, the first electric companies, utilities companies, cell phones, computers, personal gaming, video games, all those things here because of our economic system. The Soviet Union's economic system at that time did not have that, so it lacked innovation. So it was starting to collapse on itself. At that time, though, Mikhail Gorbachev started moving the Soviet Union towards a market economy. And what that is, it's just that when people own the businesses and prices are based on supply and demand, the government does not set the prices. So he moved them towards the concept that we call privatization, which is going from the government owning everything to the people owning, business people owning the private companies and industries. Now, while it sounds good in theory, and it sounds like it should have worked, it did not work well in the Soviet Union at all for any number of reasons, but more specifically, the factor that we will focus on today, the primary reason that we'll focus on for your notes, is that the people, the business people and the investors who did make money by going into privatization, they did not invest the money back into the Soviet Union. They took their money other places. So they would make all of this money off the people by selling their goods, but instead of using that money to then build factories there or to hire people to build things in the Soviet Union, they moved their money outside. So they moved their money outside of the country. So people in the Soviet Union were not benefiting from the industries that developed there. And that is, if you guys watch the news, that is something that's been brought up about what is occurring here today in the United States, that we have extremely wealthy people, but corporate profits are at all-time highs, but they're not investing back into the country. They're not hiring Americans. They're not expanding their product lines. They're just hoarding the money or investing the money overseas, but not focusing those record profits that they are making in large part due to the American people back into the country. The next concept we'll cover is the Russian agriculture and industry, and we'll talk about how these things changed. And of course, this is under the Soviet Union. The prices and production of agriculture and industry were controlled by the government, and because of the transition from a command economy to a market economy, it's been slow. It's been difficult. Even if you didn't have these issues with people moving, not and reinvesting their money back into the Soviet Union, business people not reinvesting their money back into the Soviet Union, the entrepreneurs not reinvesting their money, it would be hard because it would be hard taking people who've been doing things one way for 100 years and then asking them to change it overnight and expecting it to run smoothly. One of the primary industries in the Soviet Union or in Russia now is represented by this picture and this illustration, and it is something that we are very familiar with in South Louisiana, which is petroleum extraction. Okay, and what that is, of course, this is nothing new to us. We in South Louisiana, but petroleum extraction and processing is Russia's most important industry. So that is something that we have in common with the people of Russia. Okay, so remember, highlight the homework learning targets, answer the questions in bold lettering, and fill in the chart at the bottom of your notes outline. It's the end. Have a good evening. See you in class.